My name is Samantha Lovejoy, and for my anthropology final presentation, I'm going to be discussing Hopewell Historic National Park, located in Ohio in the United States of America. Based off the research found at this park, there are main points we will be discussing in this PowerPoint, which are, through the findings, we are able to gain insight into this advanced Native American civilization, discover why the Hopewell Mounds were made 2,000 years ago, learn about the unique characteristics of the Hopewell people through practices, artifacts, and the land, discuss the main theme of the site, which is the mounds being used to preserve artifacts and act as a burial site, and finally, learn about excavations at Hopewell National Park and how they helped further expand our knowledge on this specific Native American group. I have provided two maps on this slide. One to the far left-hand corner is the state of Ohio itself and where Hopewell National Park is, represented by this red marker. You can see it's towards the end of the state. The second map is provided by National Park Service, and it shows the specific areas in the park itself, but we will be focusing more on Hopewell Mound Group. And this chart shows the Hopewell Historic National Park and its basic information, such as when the site was used actively by Native Americans, which was through 1 and 400 AD, but it did not become a national park until March 2nd, 1923. They don't know exactly what kind of Native American group specifically lived at this site, but they do refer to them as the Hopewell culture or Hopewell people. The site was named after Mordecai Hopewell, who did have the site when it was first excavated. And this site is closer to Columbus, Ohio and Arkin, Ohio. And at the time when Hopewell did have this site, there were major explorations done by Warren Moorhead, done in 1891 and 1892, which will be discussed later in this slideshow. And the dating techniques used throughout the years are radiocarbon dating, as well as geology and geophysical surveys helping excavations along. Archaeologists who conducted major excavations were, of course, Warren Moorhead, who I discussed briefly, and in 1997, Brett Ruby, who has done extensive research on this site and has written multiple publications about the site itself. In all of my research, there hasn't been evidence of kings or queens who ordered this command to build these mounds. They seem to be, through evidence, a burial site out of respect for the dead. And this is my chart continued. When it comes to the type of political organization, historians think it is a tribe that did belong here, mostly because it was part of a trade group and they didn't stay long, most likely for long periods of time at least. The type of economic system was based on hunting, fishing, and growing crops, and long-distance trading networks. Hopewell was just a small part of a big long-distance trading network between what is now different states in the United States. The total population of the site when it existed during the time of Native Americans and the population of the site itself are both unknown, but it was a habitation site of some kind. And there is evidence of trade at this site through materials that are not originally from Ohio and exotic materials also found in other places outside of Ohio. There are no evidence of specific tribe leaders, but there were remains of religious leaders found in these mounds, or what archaeologists believe to be religious leaders. And the type of religion they practiced was most likely shamanic practices because of evidence of different artifacts that I will discuss later. One of the artifacts being pottery, burial sites with human remains, an effigy of a claw made out of sheet mica, which is one of the materials that is not originally found in Ohio. And some more significant details about Hopewell National Park is seen through this specific excavation for the World's Columbian Exposition done by Warren Moorhead in 1893. One specific artifact he found pictured at the right bottom corner is a frog pipe. The insight this frog pipe gives is possibly a deeper understanding of possible religious practices. It can be seen as a form of communication between humans and sacred beings in different cultures, so that might lead archaeologists to believe that this could be used for the same type of practice when it comes to religious practices. During this excavation, there was controversy about Moorhead's excavation methods. People believe that the site could be more well preserved and that he most likely did not have to go to the extent that he did because the site wasn't being preserved correctly through that method. And other significant details about Hopewell National Park is another excavation known as Hopewell Mound Group, or it was done by Hopewell Mound Group during the 1920s, more specifically 1922 through 1925. The people involved were Henry Chitrone and William Mills. The specific artifact that was found during this time was an effigy of a hawk claw made out of sheet mica. And this is important because archaeologists do not know exactly how artifacts like these were cut out. They don't know exactly what tools were used by the Native Americans during this time. And what they do know is that the mica was obtained from North Carolina, which shows evidence of their vast trading network. And when excavating, archaeologists were able to see the matrix the Hopewell people created for the mounds, which is pictured at the bottom right-hand corner, where it shows different layers of clay, sand layers, and gravel. And most likely, the Hopewell people did this so they could better preserve the remains and artifacts of their tribe. And up in the top right-hand corner is a picture that shows how the Hopewell people constructed these mounds. For example, in the middle, some remains, on the sides of the remains, some pots or pottery of some sort, and more skeletal remains, followed by a empty layer, and then more remains towards the bottom. And this is my bibliography of all of the sources I used to help me through this research of the Mound Historic National Park.